So first of all, thank you and welcome to Scene 2324. Today, joining this meeting is Professor Newman. He's our Scene Director. He's been doing this for quite some time. Those of you who are returning know Professor Newman very well. His email is there too, as well if you have any questions throughout the program. Again, my name is Denise Yab. I'm the Assistant Director here with Access ASU, and I've been very excited to get this program started this year. And then our management intern, who's also been heavily involved with getting the scene running this year, is Laketh Upada, and all of our emails are there if you ever need to get a hold of us. I would say as far as staff goes as well, you will also be working with your mentors who will be ASU professors and or scientists in the field. And then we also have support staff that will be working with you in the labs or in your research. And those could be graduate students, undergraduate students, and then research scholars and lab staff. So all of us, excuse me, are the ones who are going to be helping you through this year. I do want to point out that at the bottom of the screen, there is another email that will also go to any one of us. It's a scene@asu.edu. So what is Access ASU? So what we do here with Access ASU is our mission is to prepare Arizona students to enroll and succeed at Arizona State University. Access ASU is part of the Educational Outreach and Student Services program. We are dedicated to increasing access to higher education and preparing students for success through family engagement, strategic K-12 education, and community partnerships. And one of those partnerships is with the SCENE program. We do this by creating a culture of college and career readiness. We connect students and parents to specific resources or programs to help them to be successful, and we support through FAFSA and application processes. So throughout this program, you are going to be working with your mentor on your research, but then from time to time, and we're going to go over this a little bit later, you will be receiving outreach from us here at Access ASU about some beneficial things that can help you as you are going through your college readiness programs. So what is SCENE? So SCENE stands for the Science and Engineering Experience. What you as students will be doing in this program is you will be working in state-of-the-art labs here at Arizona State University under the guidance of professors and university students. You will be answering your own original research questions and thus have your own individual research project in a research group. Then you can also, through this work, compete in regional and national science competitions. There are many different disciplines of study that are offered through ASU and through this program. And so you can see here that the list is pretty long. I can go over all of them if you like, but there's quite a few. And I know that you have already put your preferences in and what you want to work in, and we are going to be hopefully having that done. We're going to go over that in a little bit too by the end of next week, if you haven't already been notified of who you're going to be working with. So what is the nature of the work? Primarily, this program is geared toward being on campus, but we do have some online offers, and then a lot of the work and the research that you will be doing also based on what your mentor gives you will be online. Then we do recommend, and then that's like up to 10 hours every week recommended. And that includes like a variety of different things that you'll be doing. Then your independent research project will be carried out within a research group under the guidance of your faculty mentor, participating in SCENE fairs and competitions to present your research. And then I forgot to mention, I apologize. There is going to be a question and answer session at the end. So I do see something in the chat there that if you have any questions, please put it in the Q&A. And then if your questions aren't answered from the presentation, then hopefully we can get those questions for you at the end. This is very important. So the SEEN team, that's myself, Dr. Newman, and Laketh, really wanted to make sure that you are prepared. So we have some really important advice that we could offer to you as you go through this program. So professors, graduate students, and staff are busy, usually during the week, pretty busy. So please note that they don't always answer emails or phone calls right away. Please be patient, but also persistent. So if you have a burning question and you email them and you don't hear back right away, it's okay if you need to email them again, but please be very respectful of their time. Read all that you can about the topic that you will study. You will want to meet with your mentor ASAP and discuss potential projects. And then expect that your mentor will give you some initial reading recommendations based on what you decide to be your potential project. And then also, when you are meeting with your mentor, it's very important to be prepared for those meetings. After you've done your research, after you've done some reading, come with a brief written report to leave with your mentor. And then if you have a question that will take about 5 minutes to answer, you should spend roughly about 20 to 30 minutes reading about it on the web or from a book. And then again, as I mentioned, be persistent. Do not let a lot of time go by before trying again. If for some reason, and this is very important to note, if for some reason you've tried a few times and you still haven't heard back, or you feel like it's been a reasonable amount of time, and if there are any significant issues, please email Dr. Newman at nathan.newman@asu.edu. You can also reach someone by using the SEEN@asu.edu email.
Oh, Denise, can I add a little bit?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so one of the challenges is the faculty have teaching to do. One of their main uh, activities is doing research, and they also have committee work. So they get very busy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, and I'm not sure, that they try and keep up on their email. Most do, but a few struggle. And so it's been a challenge, and it will always be a challenge to make sure that you get their attention. So you should write an email. You should set up schedules with them to say, uh, I'll be coming each week. I'll be coming on such and such a day. Uh, you know, where do I go? Who do I meet with, etc. So you have to kind of drive the interaction. If you wait for them, it can go a month, it can go 2 months, and then it's too late for you. So I want you to really, on a weekly basis, make sure you discuss with them the expectations for not only your time,
Mm-hmm.
but their time, and be respectful. They may only have 10 minutes. They may just meet long enough to give you some reading assignments. You do these reading assignments, and then you expand. You look on Wikipedia, you look up articles, you look up their articles. It's great to know what they do. So I want you to be very persistent. And if you have done that, and it happens, then let me know. And I'm very good. I know the people on campus. Most know me pretty well, and I can make sure we get it resolved in a timely manner. Or at least I'll do my best, and we have a very good record of doing that. And that's the kind of thing that I do. So I should add that the procedures when it regards to the faculty and interactions and science, I can help you with if it's related to getting an ASU Right ID or getting through uh, the safety training or any of the more bureaucratic steps that ASU puts in front of us, then you should go to Denise and Laketh, and the best way to do that is through the SEEN email. but
Correct.
they've given you their contact info. So sorry about the long explanation, but that's the most important thing that you should take home today is that it's you driving this project, and be respectful, but also be diligent and a little rigid to say, you know, please just give me the reading material. I'll come back in a week or two. You tell me
Hmm.
what needs to get done, or if there's an experiment to get done, you know, work to set up the schedule and plans. Don't just have someone hand you, well, do this experiment, and then you don't know who to contact. So those are the kind of things to remember is that it's your project. That's one of the things we really encourage, and it's something that you drive. Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Newman. No, it's much appreciative. And like I said, he's been doing this for quite some time and he does have a lot of connections. So with the staff and the faculty that are working with you in the labs. So no, I appreciate that. Um, where did I leave off? I apologize. No, we went over this page. All right, thank you. So what do you need to report on a weekly basis? As he mentioned, when you're meeting with your faculty or your mentors or your research group, specifically when you're meeting with your mentor, make sure that you have like a 1 or 2 sentence, very quick elevator speech of your project's goal. What did you do this week towards your project? What did you find? What it means, and then what you plan to do next. So basically, what have you done? What are you going to do? And what's in the future? Um, and so it's very important that you're doing that on a weekly basis as you do your research.
And this
Oh,
is
go
the
ahead.
second. Oh, before you go, Denise, I promise not to interrupt anymore until my time. But this is really the most important thing I've learned over the years in science. Most students come in and tell me it didn't work, or I found this and I don't think it's good, or I found this and I like it and I think it means this. And the conclusions don't mean much to me. It's not really what and how science works.
Hmm.
What you really have to do is, of course, you introduce the idea that this is our kind of long-term goal. I'm working on this project because the faculty have 5, 10 other projects sometimes, and you have to remind them, hey, I'm working on this project. Uh, and the most important thing you do is you tell them what you did. If they don't know what you did, they don't have any way to deal with your conclusions. So that's really the most important thing, and it's almost always left out. I
Yeah.
did this experiment. And the second most important is what you found. This is the data, these are the results. If you have that, then they have a context. Finally, what I think is the least important is what it means. Well, it worked, it didn't work, you liked it, you didn't like it. Most of the time, my students tell me, I don't like the results.
Hmm.
I don't care if you like the results or not. Those are the results, and that's what we have to understand, and we can learn from them. Very rarely
Absolutely.
do things look like the textbook, and that's one of the hardest things to learn and as a scientist is that it doesn't. But if you can understand it and you persist and you try it and you optimize, then it can. So,
And then knowing how you got there. That's
and knowing absolutely what the results, because the people who get credit aren't the ones that explain things or understand things. They're the ones that convince the world. And the only way to convince them is with the initial data. You know,
hmm
I should have been careful. Very well defined, work, what you did, and then what you found. And then everybody comes to the same conclusion, and then you've convinced the world. Okay?
Thank you. And so how are you going to keep track of this weekly basis, or how are you going to keep track of your research, what you find, and then what you're working on? You need to keep a notebook. So for your notebooks, this should be something that you keep everything together. It should be permanently bound. Each page should be numbered. Again, you're going through this process. All entries should be entered sequentially and properly dated, and then include, again, what you did, and possibly what it means, if you've come to that already. And then it's very important that it is witnessed by a colleague, so name, signature, and date. So as you're doing these, getting that information recognized, I guess would be a good word, and getting it, sharing what you've done. So again, make sure that's kept together. One of the things that we did want to point out through this program is that we highly or strongly urge you to participate in the AZSCF. So that's the Arizona Science, the Arizona Museum's Science Fair. It's presented by the Arizona Science Center. Oh my gosh, it's like at the end of spring. We'll get those dates for you when they come up. We are confident that this experience will be productive, educational, and an enjoyable experience for all involved. And also, with a little bit of luck and a lot of hard work, we have had some SEEN projects that have made a significant contribution to significant science contributions. And this has resulted in authorship and co-authorships of papers that have been in peer-reviewed articles. So please remember that this is possible. It's more of an exception to the rule. We're not saying that every single one of you is going to have this opportunity, but again, with hard work and significant contributions. That's a big word when you think of it. The SEEN team will be occasionally sharing opportunities for you to present your research as well. And then training. So I know we've had a lot of people that have asked about trainings. So I'm going to go over this slide. And then I do want to point out that at the end, at the conclusion of our presentation, Laketh has put together not really a training video, but like to go over how to access these trainings through the ASU Write ID that you received already. So students will work in labs that involve hazardous chemicals, electronics, heavy machinery, and microbes. Not to say that all of you are going to do that, but that has happened. There are 3 required trainings for all students who will be working in labs, regardless of what your final project is or your final placement is. These are for all students. You have to do the fire safety, you have to do the lab safety, and then you have to do the hazardous waste management training. So those 3 are required for all students before you are eligible to work in a lab. There will be, again, based on which mentor you are placed with or which lab you will be working in, possibly some additional trainings that you will have to do. And those will be addressed when you do your minors in lab agreement with your mentor. And then they will point out, it goes through the EH&S safety, which of the other labs or which the other trainings that you will have to do before you can work in those specific labs. And they do vary. So I didn't list all of them, but there's again, depending on what lab you work in. So what do we expect from you? It's very important. Again, you're all went through a process of being selected for this. So we know that you have the ability, but we just want to make sure that you are honoring this program with integrity. We also want to make sure that you are aware that please don't plagiarize when you're doing any of your reporting. Be sure to reference all external sources. This is also very important, as Dr. Newman pointed out, the professors, the mentors, even the grad students and doctoral students that may be working in the labs and everyone involved. Punctuality is key. If you say you're going to be there, be on time, and come prepared. We also expect from stellar students, stellar behavior and conduct. We appropriate dress code. Again, different labs have different dress codes, so make sure that you are, once you go through the training, it will tell you specifically what type of dress codes you should have. I know for one, no open-toed shoes. That's one that I am aware of, so please make sure you have closed-toed shoes is very important. And And then email etiquette. It's very important that when you are communicating with staff, faculty, that you do not use your school email address. Sometimes the school email addresses don't always come through to the ASU email. So that's very important. And then also until we get everything documented, and you're in the clear, but we also want to make sure that you are copying your parents on emails as well. Since you are all minors, this is a very important process that we ask that you do. And then I have put it here as well. Even though you're not currently ASU students, we do ask that you abide by the ASU Student Code of Conduct when you are in the labs or working on campus. And there is a link there. And again, we're going to provide this recording to all attendees, and then a link to the slides as well for you after sometime next week. Some important dates. So once you have completed all of your required trainings and are paired with a mentor, you can begin working with your mentor. One of the things I want to point out is that our goal is to have, if you haven't already been placed with a mentor, by the end of this coming week. So by the end of this week, I forgot to look at my calendar, but by Friday of this coming week. One of the things that you will need to do with your mentor is called a minors in lab form. And we do recommend and highly suggest that you get this submitted on or before October 6th. You and your mentor will work together to document your plans and what equipment you will use. Then your mentor will get the forms approved by their department chair or school director, whatever their procedures are for their department, and then by the ASU Environmental Health and Safety. That's very, very important. And then we, Access ASU, are going to be hosting a SEEN symposium in spring and on March 23rd. And so that's another thing where we're going to ask students to come and present their research projects, and then also have the opportunity to get feedback from other colleagues or other researchers, because now you're going to be researchers at that time. So what are some action items? So these are things that we're asking that you get completed in the near future. So once you are paired with a mentor, please reach out to your mentor via email and schedule a meeting. Again, remember to copy your parents those initial emails. Complete the minors in labs with your mentors, discuss research projects, and then review the AZ SCF guidelines. Again, we're going to go over this at the end, but you should have all received your ASU Right IDs and a list of the EHS trainings. Once you accept the request and set up your password, then you receive an email. Once you do that, then you will complete the lab trainings as allocated by your mentor. So other than the 3, once you do the minors in lab, you will be given, and maybe even before that, what trainings additionally that you have to do. And again, remember, all those trainings have to be done before you can start the work in the lab. Now, that doesn't mean you can't do any of the research. So you might, even before that happens, get some reading materials or requests from your mentor to start working on potential projects. Correct, Dr. Newman?
Yes, actually, the important issue is that you initially meet with your faculty mentor and you make plans.
Mm-hmm.
And these plans will include what you're going to do, in terms of reading, any analysis you need to do, etc. And then also which equipment you're going to need to carry out these experimental plans. And once you have that done, then your mentor is basically responsible for getting that completed, but it takes your
Time.
involvement. So it
Yeah.
should be really a 50-50 effort to get this done. And once you get this done, then you write down all of the plans, all of the equipment, any safety risks that exist, and then your mentor takes it to their boss, which turns out to be the chair or school director, and get it signed. We gave you date of October 6th, but I would argue that you should do it as soon as possible,
Right.
but not so soon that you don't make excellent plans. You really need to think everything through. So if you
Hmm.
can do it before October 6th, great. Good thing to shoot for. But sometimes you have to plan and think and do a lot of analysis before you come up with an experimental plan and procedure that you want to do. So it's really up to you as to when the lab work begins. So October 6th is a good stake in the ground,
Hmm.
but you have to look and see what makes sense. If it goes much after October 6th, you should think a little bit about where you have enough time to do the experiments, and that's why that date is chosen.
Yeah.
So
It just puts you in a good place to yeah. And then again, it all depends on the faculty. I'm not sorry, the departments too, because each of these are going to different departments for approval. And then also that's the second step. And then the third step is that once it gets there, it goes to the EH&S for approval.
yeah, and if
Yeah,
you turn in the forms and they're not getting
approved.
approved within a week or week and a half, you can let me know and I can intervene to wake up the chairs and directors. And I also work closely with the HNS. There's sometimes concerns on their part, and we want rapid feedback from them as well. And they've been great. So, but again, the directors and chairs have many things to sign, and sometimes it takes a little bit of pushing. So let's just work together to get everything through in a timely manner so you can start your experiments.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Newman. That would be greatly appreciated. And if you've had to do them before, thank you for doing that the past too. Um, and then how to pick a research topic. So Dr. Newman, I think this is the slide where you're taking over for 2 or 3 slides. So just let me know and to go to the next.
Yeah, this is what I promised to do. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about uh, how I approach science and where we've had successes, how we've got it. But I've also had the great luxury of working with some of the great, many Nobel laureates and others over the years. And I noticed that they consistently follow this path. So it's my opinion and the opinion of a lot of people I respect, but your mentor may or may not work in the same way as I do. But I think it's a great thing to consider. Uh, so the first thing is easy. Anytime you're doing research, it's to contribute new knowledge. So you don't want to reinvent the wheel. You don't want to do things that the ultimate goal should be to do something new. Sometimes you have to go through the same path as others and replicate data and make sure that your procedures are right. But once you've got that done and your methodology is sound, you should go on to do something that's new knowledge. That's a minimum. Ideally, it's going to make an impact. I tell my students at the beginning of the year, imagine that your project succeeds beyond your wildest dreams. What will be the outcome? And I tell them if it isn't going to change the world, find another project. I'm not interested in working with you on it. Go do something else. So not every project works that way. I go into the lab every day thinking that what we're going to do today is going to change the world. And I've been doing this for a while, and we haven't changed the world in every way possible, but we'd like to. So that's it. Really should be impactful. And I've worked with great scientists. Person that invented the transistor was one of my mentors. The computers you use today are there only because of that type of work. I worked with the person who invented the silicon solar cell, another mentor, and my main mentor invented the night vision goggles and those uh, some devices that are in every X-ray machine in the country. So he's, I've worked with people that have done these things, and I think we should all shoot for those type of goals. One thing that I want to get across, though, too, is when you do research, a lot of times people think fundamental research is just to do basic knowledge and doesn't have practical applications. And that's not actually right. Fundamental research looks at the basic principles and starts with the Schrödinger equation or Maxwell's equation, or the Standard Model is derived from these things. But the opposite of fundamental research is actually empirical research. It's when you don't start from the ground floor. Most of biology is empirical. You look at kind of trends and patterns and things. Some is fundamental, that going back to the DNA, but psychology is looking at empirical work. That's great, and I can't complain because Edison was very successful at it. There's many great discoveries based on that, but you should realize what you're doing. If you're working from first principles, what you can uncover is limited, but can have incredibly important applications. If you're doing empirical research, that's great. It's another effective tool, and it can be very successful. And as I mentioned, the basic scientists who only studied the in my area was physics, invented the transistor, solar cell, night vision goggles. I worked with a person that was supposed to develop the quantum computing devices. Uh, the laser actually was downstairs. I didn't work directly with him, but all of these come from very basic science. So think a little bit about making sure you have strong fundamental understanding, and use that to do fundamental research. But it's also important, even if you're doing empirical research, is you have the general concepts that come from the fundamentals. Now, let's say you succeed beyond your wildest dreams. What are the two categories that are impactful? And in my opinion, if you're working on a project, the ultimate goal could be very useful. The transistor is a great example. The internet, your computers, all of that is based on the transistor. One form of renewable energy is the silicon solar cell. All of those the transistor came from understanding how electrons moved in a solid, the concept of electrons and holes. The solar cell came out of a researcher that did just very learned how to purify material beyond what had ever been done. And the night vision goggles was understanding how electrons are bound at surfaces and don't come popping out. All of those turned out to be basic research. And the ultimate goal turned out that it was useful. And that's makes huge impact and is kind of obvious. But the equally important discoveries or ultimate goals that have changed the world, but they've changed our world in the understanding. One of my colleagues developed some advanced quantum mechanics that ended up understanding how nuclei stay together. And the equations and the theories were absolutely beautiful. They explained, in this case, it explained how nuclei stay together. Not too practical, turned out to be the strong force, but it was, in my opinion, just very beautiful physics. And the equations were symmetric and showed many things. And many advances have come from that, making the equations a little more symmetric than they were in the beginning actually led to the prediction of a axion, which is the leading choice for the dark matter in the universe. So all of this isn't very useful in itself. It doesn't build cars, it doesn't generate electricity, but it's absolutely, in my opinion, beautiful. And I say the same thing when you give a talk, talk about the either the beauty of the work, of the outcomes that will come, or making it useful. And so, as I mentioned, if you look at something beautiful, it's looking at the knowledge that tells us of the origin and future of the universe. There's some dimensionless physical constants that we don't know where they come from, and we'd love to learn. The origin of life is interesting. And the second choice is things that we use every day, computers, ChatGPT. Although this slide wasn't written with ChatGPT, but I should have. Battery technology, environmentally friendly energy, etc. So that's my spiel on at least how I try and carry out research programs, and those how I choose to spend my time doing research. And some things have been beautiful, I'm pleased to say, and some things have been useful. But I'm still working to change the rest of the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Newman. So yeah, we do appreciate that. Very, very helpful, and do appreciate your insight into that. Let me go to the next slide. All right, so as we mentioned, you will be getting outreach or emails from myself or Laketh here at the SCENE team for Access ASU. Part of the SCENE program is we do ask you to participate in the Access ASU events. Not all of them, obviously, but what we offer. So some of the events that we host throughout the year are to help prepare you for college. So maybe you need help with FAFSA, maybe you need help with college application process. Those are just a few, or career preparedness. So we offer classes on that or resources on that. We also have some other on-campus events. So we have our Future Sun Devil Day. That's something where you could come to campus and spend time with your family. We have our AVID conference. We do have a Recharge conference. That's for our Native American students. We have a Rise Leadership Institute. That is, again, these are high school students who, so Recharge would be for high school students. Rise Leadership Institute is for high school students, and that is an ongoing throughout the academic year for our Black African students. And then we have our CCLI Leadership Institute, and that is geared towards supporting our Hispanic Latino students. So we have a lot, and there's a lot more. And as they come up, we will send them out to help support you. The SCENE team, again, will be sending these emails with available events as they come up so that you have an opportunity to participate in them. I do want to show this as well, because as you are working in Access ASU labs, or working with Access ASU, I'm sorry, not Access ASU, excuse me, ASU labs and ASU equipment, we do want to make sure that you are aware that, and from my knowledge, again, Dr. Newman, we've never had this issue come up, but we just want to make sure that you know, if there are any incidences that are against the student code of conduct or behavior in the labs, you will get a verbal warning or written warning, and that will come to the assistant program director, myself, or to Dr. Newman. All incidences will be documented, mediation and phone to call the family, and then not that we're, just want to make sure that if there are any severe actions, that could be a dismissal from the program. So I just want to make sure I don't expect any of those things to happen, but just want to make sure that you are aware that we have high expectations of all of you. And I'm sure you're going to exceed them. These were some, so we all asked you to complete an RSVP for today's event. And so some of these are questions that came from your peers as to the program this year. And one of those questions, these are a few of the top frequently asked questions. Does SCENE let you go straight to AZ SEF without going through your school? And from my knowledge, that is a yes, correct, Dr. Newman? They don't have to go through their school to go through AZ SEF.
That is true historically. We've
Okay,
always made special arrangements so that because it's being done through a unit of higher education, AZ
okay,
Science Fair has always agreed to this, and we need to reconfirm the agreement because there's always
with them.
changes in
Okay.
management. So that's one action item for us, is to just confirm. But at this point, we're confident that it will go through.
Okay, I got that on my to-do list. Tips for AZ SEF. So we are going to be hosting a workshop. I can't give you an exact date because we're still in the plans on creating it based on some very important information that Dr. Newman shared with us. Is we want to create a workshop for you on how to do a presentation or how to present your research in a formidable way. And so again, we're in the works on creating that workshop, and we'll let you know as soon as we have it ready to go. But as far as tips for AZ SEF, Dr. Newman, do you have anything you'd like to share?
I've never been,
Okay,
and I know very little. To be honest,
okay,
after having dozens of students, I think it's a SCENE student's responsibility, and I let them look up the rules,
yeah,
etc. I do encourage them to talk with students that have participated in the past. There's some good ideas. I do give advice to my students when as I've had them over the years,
hmm,
on how to prepare the poster and many things. And sometimes my advice doesn't is standard in science, but this Arizona Science and Engineering Fair have different formats. So
yeah,
I give advice and I let the students sort through. So I think it's
yeah,
really your responsibility, but we can help and we can teach you uh, how to be professional.
hmm,
Having notebooks is kind of old school, but I think it should be done. Uh, Learning how to give a professional presentation. There's a standard and uh, way to do it in an optimal way, and we'll translate that to you, and then you have to figure out how to use these tools to go forward. How's that?
yeah, that's good. And then if you
Yeah.
do participate in the AZSEF, they do offer workshops. So they do workshops for you prior to the event on what their expectations are. So Dr. Newman said, like, there are specific rules, there are specific ways that you have to apply. And so, yes, as soon as we get that information, we'll be sharing it out. But they do offer workshops or Q&A sessions with the program director of the science fair through the ASU, through the Arizona Science Fair. Then the next question, how will meetings with mentors be arranged? As we mentioned previously in a couple of the different slides, you will be working with your mentor to schedule those. Also, is there a required amount of time we should meet with our mentors each week? I know we said like you're going to be working up to 10 hours. That means you're not going to be spending 10 hours with your mentor, obviously. But again, that's going to be something that you and your mentor are going to discuss. So I can't say it's going to be the same for each one of you. But I just think that it's going to be, again, part of your plan, part of your agreement with your mentor, and part of your action with how you're going to communicate with them. Is that correct, Dr. Newman? Does that sound about right? Each one's going to be
Absolutely.
different. Yeah. Everybody's going to be different.
Absolutely.
How flexible is the schedule and how flexible will it be? Again, that's going to be between you and your mentor. We want to make sure you signed up, that you are allowing yourself time to be in the lab and time to work on your research. So you're going to schedule a plan, you're going to schedule what your hours are going to be, and hopefully that is something that you can stick to. But again, it's going to be up to you and your mentor and how you guys make that plan.
And I can add a little bit. Just my
Yeah.
experience was most scene students, some have a lot of flexibility and can come in for a whole day or two each week because they have a school that requires participation in an independent research program. That doesn't happen very often. Most students come in late afternoon, 3:30, 4:30, uh, 2 or 3 times a week, sometimes staying to 6:30. And during the week, that usually fits most research groups' available times to at least do the experiments. Occasionally, you have graduate students and faculty that are there on weekends, and then you can put a whole day in. So my suggestion is negotiate with your research team and do your best to set up a schedule of classes, outside activities, so that you can spend at least 2 days a week uh, in the late afternoon doing work. So that's kind of what we ended up doing. Each group is different. You may get lucky and they'll be around all, 24/7. I've worked with groups that had limited equipment and
Hmm.
things were always open. But I think at ASU that I've never seen that, to be very honest. So I think late afternoons, 2 times a week, is something you should do your very best to uh, consider.
Thank you. And this next question, again, we're still going through the mentor availability. Um, is asking, can I work completely online? I know we had one professor that was online, but I think she's going to be in person this year. Um, so again, I don't want to say yes 100% until we get a better idea, correct, Dr. Newman,
I
of what
think,
their availability is.
yeah, the answer is we do have a number that are available online in
Hmm.
certain subjects, but they're few and
Very
far
few.
between, meaning we just have a few. So if you're located a distance from ASU and it's a hardship to get to ASU, uh, we had some students from Texas, they couldn't come in weekly, as you might guess. So we planned and arranged for students that need to have it online. We can make an effort to link you to an online
Professor.
professor
But
and
it might
try.
not be exactly what you requested because again, it depends on which professors we have available in the
Exactly.
field. Yeah, what field you
Yeah,
requested.
that's right. We'll have to negotiate what's available and are you interested? And
Hmm.
we do a pretty good job of doing that, but nothing's guaranteed.
Yep. All right. And then the next one, and then I will have Laketh put it in the channel. How do I travel to ASU? So as we mentioned before, you are going to get an ASU Right ID and an ASU affiliate ID. From my understanding, you can get a student um, well, sorry, card like that shows that you can travel on the bus. So there are inter-campus shuttles that you can take between campuses. And then there is a link. Oh, Dr. Nguyen, did you want to say something about like if it's a
I'm
hardship? Oh, go ahead.
again, I'm okay. Two things. One is I think you can get a Sun card. My
Sun
understanding is
card,
what
that's the
the
word.
you write
Yes.
ID, and then you can travel on the bus. And of course, the light rail comes to ASU, and of course, some other have independent transportation with cars. If you have a hardship and don't have the funds or the means to do this, we don't have a budget, but please let us know, and we'll do everything we absolutely can to help. Don't let that be a barrier to you participating in scene.
Yes. Thank you.
And just reach out directly to scene at ASU and to myself.
Thank you, Dr. Newman. All right. And as we pointed out, there's a time now for some additional questions. So if we didn't answer the questions throughout the program, or if it wasn't one of your frequently asked questions, do you want to do your presentation, Laketh, on how to access the trainings before we do the questions?
Yeah, sure. I can
Let's
do
do
that.
that. Yeah, so let's go ahead and do that because that might be some of the questions. Uh, how to access trainings.
Let me share my
I'm gonna
screen.
stop sharing so you can share, okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Right. Uh, Good morning, everyone. I just before I start the presentation or how to log into the trainings, I just want to congratulate all of you on being accepted into the SCENE program. We had a great pool of students apply. Almost 300 students applied, and all, you are the students who are currently in the program right now. So uh, congratulations, and let's get into the training. Uh, we I have shared this link earlier this week, which I'm also putting in the chat right now. All you have to do is click on this training and it'll take you to this page by the title EHS training. And if you go down, you will find a lot of different trainings. You will usually find all the trainings assigned to you in the laboratory safety courses. And if not, in the other sections, general safety courses or job-specific safety courses. And as Denise mentioned earlier, these trainings will be assigned to you by your mentor, depending on the work you'll be doing and depending on the labs you'll be working in. And we highly suggest that you use the links in the under the Canvas section to enroll into the trainings. So that way you can easily access the trainings, complete the trainings, and send us the transcripts, screenshots of the completed trainings, right? Let's find the first training that we asked all of you to enroll in. Hazardous waste management. This is one of the trainings that you must do. We already asked a lot of students to complete the trainings before the meeting today, but I just want to show this to you for the next for the future courses you'll be enrolling in. As I've mentioned earlier, we will be enrolling in the Canvas courses, which is on the far right. So you'll be clicking on enroll now, and it'll be taking you to the Canvas course. And all you have to do is click in enroll course, and you'll be enrolled in the course, and you will have all of the materials that you need to go through in this session. And each training has its own way or own form. And if you look at this course is asking you to proceed to Career Edge website. And there are a few other courses like the lab safety courses, which will have you do your training in the Canvas website itself. Once you go to the home or the course, you will have all the material you'll need to take. And once you're done with the training, you will be taking a quiz, which has a pass percentage of 60% to for you to pass, and once you're over that threshold, you should be able to state that you've completed the training. So 60% is the passing grade for this course, but it might not be the same for the other courses. So once you're completed with your training, go to your grades, uh, get a screenshot, and just send it to us in the form that we've sent to you a few days ago. And if you're finding issues with finding any forms or any links, please send us an email so that we can give you all the links and all the resources that you need to enroll into your courses. And we have received a request from one of the students, one of the returning students, saying that they couldn't enroll in one of the courses. If you're having an issue enrolling into one of the courses, when you're a returning student, it's probably because your last year's training is still valid. But we still need you to do this training once again. So if you can let us know that you're having issues enrolling into this, we will work with the EHS team and the Canvas team to get you enrolled into the courses. All right. And yeah, that's about all it is with the EHS trainings.
Thank you, Laketh. All right, let me hit share screen again. Okay, so we can start. I just want to make sure, was there anything in the chat? 'Cause I see there's some things in the chat. Those are just the messages, right? The question, did all the questions in the chat get
All,
answered? Looks like it, yeah.
all the questions are in the Q&A, Denise.
I got it.
Okay.
All right, so the Q&A, is there a minimum score? We got that. So we answered that question. They're all going to be different. Like he just showed in the lab one, it was 60%. I know one of them is 80%. So it depends on the training. All right, and do you want to, it says, can we work with partners through school that are not in scene? I've not had that question before. Has that ever happened before, Dr. Newman?
It has, and it depends on the mentor, and we can take it on a case-by-case basis.
Okay. Thank you.
But
Case
keep us
by-
posted, and then we can try and find out the best solution. The faculty might ask for the second student to be enrolled in scene, and then we can see what is appropriate and possible.
Okay.
It's worked out a number of times, and it there were cases where the second student didn't quite work well with the mentor, and we couldn't help any further.
Okay, that's good to know. Yeah, because I don't think we had any of those last year. So this is I did half of the year last year, and this is my first year starting the program. So I've not heard of that before. So thanks for answering that question. Because again, the reason why I was hesitant, because if they are researching with the student, again, please reach out to us. But if they're researching with the scene student, you've went through the trainings, you have an ASU affiliate ID, you have all the requirements, and we may not have that for the student from your school that you're working with. So it might be just something you do on your own outside of ASU. This is a good question too. I know Laketh, you said you want to answer, but how many students per mentor? I think it depends on the mentor. We have some who are working with just one. We have some that are working with a few. And they're also going to be working with other students that are ASU students as well on the research team. Correct? It's going to depend on the mentor.
Exactly. Yeah. Some my group had 25 graduate students,
Wow.
research professors, and postdocs, and undergraduate students, graduate, the whole gambit. And it really varies from group to group. And there's advantages to small groups and to big groups, etc. we encourage faculty to take more than one student because then you have some peer interactions, etc. But I would say probably 30, maybe 50% on one, and the second option is more.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it really depends on the mentor. If you drive there, do you need a parking pass or is there a designated parking area? We don't have parking passes, so it would depend again on the location of the lab because the labs are all throughout campus and where you park. I know Tempe is a lot larger than Tempe's a lot larger than like say West or Poly. So if you're at West or Poly, there might be like a specific designated parking area. We'd have to double check on that. Did you
Yeah,
have
I
any
can.
insight on that, Dr. Newman?
Yeah, I live close to campus, so
Okay.
I know well, and I used to commute. So there's visitor parking, and I don't
Mm-hmm.
think it's outlandishly expensive, but maybe it's getting
$3 to
closer.
$4 per hour is the going rate right now
Ooh, okay, so it
for
is
most
out.
parking garages. There are some metered ones. Um,
That's the ones I'm thinking about.
yeah, the metered ones. And I think that's on the link you shared also, Laketh, the parking. Yeah.
So yeah, so you should look, and so there's visitor parking. You can get some uh, temporary passes through your mentor. They won't supply it, but they may be able to arrange to buy it at a slightly lower rate. But there's also just off campus, there's streets that you can find, and sometimes you have to walk a little bit. But there's some just across from uh, what is it? Not Scottsdale Road, Rural Road.
Rural Road.
Uh,
Okay.
yeah, there's a street where you may be able to find. So it's a little bit of a hunting expedition, I hate to admit.
Yeah.
So take a look online. Yeah.
One of the things I did when I was a student, when the light rail first, when I was in my grad program, is there are park and ride locations where, like, for example, here in Tempe, it used to be by Food City, which is like Lemon and Apache, where you can park your car and then get on the light rail and come. And that's a lot cheaper to do. Than like parking on campus. You just have to, it's like I think it's called park and ride. There's a lot of park and ride locations throughout the valley. I know up in northern Phoenix, there's quite a few as well because you can come down the light rail from Phoenix as well. So I would look into that. Are the slides going to be available for later viewing? Yes, we're going to be sending that out with a copy of the recording. So yes, we will do that. Some professors have added an additional description or comments portion, needing to have experience in programming, etc. So for those professors, could you explain more about that part? So I know like if that's one of the mentors that you picked, yes, there are mentors who are working or who are specifically looking for students who have some background in programming or have some kind of knowledge in that area. So I would say that when we're viewing your requests or your preferences against what the mentors are looking for, we are making sure that those match. Did you have anything to add, Dr. Newman?
Yeah. So if one of the professors you're very interested in has these requirements, if you'd send seen at ASU or send to me uh, kind of a description saying, yes, I have it. I'm fluent in such and such a programming language. I've taken a course in it. I use it every day. I use it once a month. You know, I'd like to learn more about it. Give us the evidence that shows to us that you're motivated to do that and that you're qualified. And that would be very helpful to us when the final matching happens.
Yeah, and some of you did indicate that in your applications as well. So we have note of that also. All right, next, hopefully that answered your question, anonymous participant. If it did not, please, again, reach out to us via the emails. Next question, what should we do if we weren't sent an email about ASU Right activation? Everyone,
Can I
yes, please, go ahead.
The student who didn't receive the email about ASU Right activation, if you are a returning student, you will not be receiving an email about activation. You already have an ASU profile. It might be discontinued, but now you can access because we requested for returning student access. And if you're a new student and you've never had an ASU profile, let us know so that we can look into it and have that sent to you by the Tuesday at the latest.
Yeah, because we did, everyone who was accepted, we did send out a request, so we just need to find out why you didn't receive it. So yes, email scene@asu.edu so that we can look into that. Will it be a group project or will it be individual project working with a mentor? Dr. Newman, you want to take that one?
That's a very good question. I encourage the students to push for, and I push the faculty to give each scene student an independent research project. Now, typically, a research group does research in a particular area, and there's an awful lot of overlap between projects. So when I had my students in scene, they would work on something that was their own. Maybe it was making a device out of the material we invented. And then the graduate student who was making the material was very interested in what he could learn from the device measurements. So there's a lot of interactions between groups, but ideally each scene student has a independent project that they work on, and they interact and collaborate with graduate students, undergraduate students, postdocs, research professors, etc. So each case is different, but we don't want it to be a project where someone carries out experiments and you wash the dishes and and the floors, because that has to get done, and paid undergraduate often do things to help out, and we don't want that scenario. We want you to have an independent research project, not just be involved in lab activities.
Good point. Thank you. And the next question, so for reading assignments, will we be able to use our ASU Right ID to access journals? So do you mean like journals from like our ASU library, I'm guessing? Because you will be able to sign into My ASU and you should have access with your ASU Right ID and sign in to access any library materials, from my knowledge. Laketh, do you have any insight into that?
I'm not exactly sure about that, but I would definitely ask students to give it a try. And if you're not able to access the journals, please let us know so that we can request for further access to the library services. But I don't see any reason why you shouldn't have access to it. You should all have access to it if you have ASU rights. Please let us know if you're not if you don't have access to that, so that we can work on getting that access for you.
Well, ASU changes its policies every day, but the easiest thing that we've done in the past is if you go into the library on campus, then you do have direct access. If you want to link into the library remotely, you should be able to do that directly through the electronic
Through My
library
ASU.
access.
Yep.
And then when you click on the article that you want to see, it asks you to sign in.
Hmm.
That works for me when I'm remote, and it should work for you. But if you don't, uh, you can approach the library and find out what is needed to do that. And they're pretty helpful. You explain you have the ASU Right ID, and if they give you instructions and we need to work directly with the library to help, we can. But it's as I say, it's a ASU bureaucracy is an ever-changing process, and we follow along, and it changes and then fixes itself. Usually, by the time we get frustrated about it.
And the nice thing to know too is that if you're having any issues with locating the research or the articles or the information you're trying to find, we do have what's called Ask a Librarian when you're looking for these articles or this information remotely. So when you sign into your My ASU and you click on the library link, there is something called Ask a Librarian, and there are specialists in different fields. So there are librarian specialists in psychology. There's librarian specialists in the different engineering fields. So you can even pinpoint it to a specific research area based on what you're looking for and ask a librarian if you're trying to find something. It's a really good tool. The next one, can I compete in my school science fair if I'm in scene? Absolutely. We highly encourage that. Right, Dr. Newman? We want you to 100%.
Absolutely. We give you the
Yes,
opportunity to do research, and we're thrilled if you use it in any and all ways possible.
absolutely. Yes, because you are researchers now. Are we supposed to submit the minor lab form with our mentors? I think we answered that yes, 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 yes. If we are one of the students who find out who our mentor is until October 15th, we have submit this form. Actually it's by this Friday, September
15.
15th, not October 15th. So our goal is to have your mentor placements, if you haven't already been placed with a mentor, by September 15th, which is this coming Friday. Hopefully that answers your question. But yes, our goal is to have it completed by October 6th or before, if you have the opportunity to meet with your mentor and discuss your minors in lab, your plan. You've done your, like Dr. Newman said, you've decided on a project with your mentor and you're going to carry out the plan. Then again, earlier is better, but we hope to put you in a good place by October 6th. If anything happens or if there's any delays, again, please reach out to Dr. Newman or the scene at asu.edu email.
Can I make a comment? Maybe I
Yes, please go
can
ahead.
ask a question and then answer it. One of the things we talked about was being professional. And one of the most important things, and we have only had this happen twice with the project, and it really was a major issue, is being professional is, of course, being ethical and honest. And part of that is making sure that any outside information is referenced properly. If you use other people's data to demonstrate the history, you make sure that you have a small reference at the bottom. Anything you take from outside, it's very typical that a good fraction of your present, you didn't start from nothing. The procedures came from somewhere. So if you're using someone's procedures or data, etc., you refer to that and reference it. I guess in today's world, if you use Chat GPT or you use, in the beginning, Wikipedia was considered off limits. Well, of course, evolution happens. So if you use Chat GPT, just indicate that this part was prepared with the assistance of ChatGPT. And of course, this is my opinion about ChatGPT, but everything else, the most important thing is if you represent anything from somewhere else, you can violate the code of ethics. And making sure that the data you take is honest. You don't take out data points, you don't add data points. Those are the kind of things that just go unsaid. The only reason I bring it up is most of the grants are typically federally funded, and if things are misrepresented, it's actually a federal crime. So I don't know if you will end up in jail, but you could. Your mentor wouldn't be very happy too if that happened. So it's actually a fairly severe penalty for anything that's not
Plagiarizing.
kept at the highest level. So plagiarism is one thing, and making sure that your data is really true to form. If you do an experiment and you take 12 data points, 12 data points end up on your graph. That's just the way it goes. If you want any exceptions, you have to indicate 2 data points were taken off because the equipment failed. That's
Mhm.
okay. So sorry to add that, but I realize
No,
that
being honest. I mean,
yeah.
honesty
that
is,
goes unsaid. Yeah.
yeah, that's 100%. Yes, I appreciate that. Um, would, sorry, what would be the total duration of SEEN program in months? So one thing I like that Dr. Newman pointed out to me as I was wrapping it up last year is that it doesn't always end, right? So when we talk about the duration of our program, SEEN program, we start now, September, and we end in end of April. Does that mean that once you find a project and you start that you're going to a definitive answer by April of next year? It depends on your project, depends on your research, depends on where you are. Correct, Dr. Newman, like we can't say, oh, you have to have a finished project by April 29th or you're not going to, I don't know, be successful in SEEN. That's not the case. But
Yeah.
the duration of this year is the academic year.
Yeah. What Denise indicated is absolutely true. The way I say it is that it goes up through the Arizona Science and Engineering Fair. But
Mhm.
if the student and the mentor agree to continue, they can continue as long as their safety and all the required trainings are in place. So that's a year from when you complete your science and your safety training. So, but again, it depends on the student and the faculty. It actually doesn't happen as often as you would expect because of summer vacation for one or the other, but it happens often enough that we sure encourage it if it's to your benefit.
Thank you. Yeah, because I'm putting in here, so you may have the opportunity to continue working with your mentor on your project up until your approvals, like we're talking about, all the trainings are good for 1 year. So you're starting these now and they're going to be good until 1 year from now, whenever they're approved. So that again is between you and your mentor. All right. I've been using my school email address. How can I switch it to a different one? That's a good question.
I can answer that. So in the activation, the profile activation email that you must have gotten, you will find a link or a phone number that you should that you could have used to address any concerns. You can call them at that number or send them an email at that email address and say that I would like to change this, and that's when they're going to change your email address from your school email address to your personal email address. We cannot do that because this profile belongs to you, and only you can change your school email address to your personal email address. If you are having any issues trying to access that, once again, send us the email, and we will help you with changing your school email address to personal email address.
Yeah, and there is, and I'm gonna copy it and put it in the chat, and I'm putting this in the answer too. So the help desk number that he's talking about, and I only know this from by heart, but it's 855-278-5080. I just double checked to make sure, but that is correct. That is our help desk number. Once you're signed into, I'm gonna hit send and then copy that and put it in the chat. Once you're signed into your My ASU, there's also a service tab where you can go on and chat, do a live chat with, this is called our help desk. And you can do it live, but you can also call or do a live chat. That's our help desk. All right, let me put this in the chat and I'm going to go to the next. You want to go to the next question, Laketh? Sorry.
Sure, I can do that.
Thank you.
One of the students asked us, I have some extra qualifications that may help in particular research I want to pursue. Is there any way I should get it to you or the mentor directly?
Ooh, that's a good point, because if it was not included in your application, yes, please send that to us, to the scene@asu.edu email as soon as you can. That would be very helpful.
Right. I
think that's all the questions we have. If there's anybody that still has a question, you can unmute yourself and ask it, or you can type it. It's up to you. I'm so glad to have you all here. Did you want to say something, Dr. Newman?
No,
Okay.
I'm good. I just thank
sorry,
everybody for coming. And if you have questions, you can send them to scene@asu.edu.
Yep. Yeah. So no open questions. I think we got through all of them. Anybody want to unmute and ask a question? We're open to that too. We still have about 7 minutes left. Or just any comments in general. We'll open the floor.
I'll put in quick advertisement and then maybe we can wrap up.
Yes.
So I'm happy to help with the science questions and mentors, etc. But if you're having trouble with any of the bureaucratic things, including getting library access or getting an ASU Right ID or where can you park, send it to scene@asu.edu. Anything
Yes.
bureaucratic, and we'll definitely be able to help, because I won't be able to.
Yeah, absolutely. And and I love the question. So my plug is going to be, I love the question about can we compete in our school's science fair? So we highly encourage that. As I said before, let your science teacher know that you're doing this. Let your, your career counselor, let anybody that is in your corner know that this is something that you're doing, because they might be able to support you in some way as well. We highly encourage that. It's, like, again, as like Kath mentioned, we had 300 applicants and you were selected. So that's a very important acknowledgement on your part as well. Yeah, but if there's no more questions, we'll go ahead and give you 6 minutes back of your time. It was so good to see all of you today. And we look forward to working with you on getting all of your retrainings done and getting your mentor placements. Some of you, again, on or before the end of Friday, you'll have your mentors. All right, please reach out, scene@asu.edu, or just let us know if you have any questions or comments or need help with anything. Thank you all.
And thanks,
Thank you.
Denise. Great meeting, and Laketh.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Newman.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye everybody.
Bye. All right, I think we can stop recording the video now.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Oh,
Oh,
did you
cool.
already hit stop?
No, I did not.
Yeah, I'm doing it now.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.